Our goal is your satisfaction. Let us show you the way.
What happens if there is no rental agreement? An absence of a written rent agreement means the landlord can impose the increase of rent in adherence to the Rent Control Act 1948. A tenant can also shift to a new place anytime, as there is no rent agreement that states what should be the process if the occupant wants to evacuate the property. Can a landlord just kick you out? You may need to engage your landlord if the notice to vacate is lawful. The landlord cannot evict you for no reason, merely because they want you out. There are legal regulations guiding the termination of a lease agreement. Can I live in a house without a tenancy agreement? Although a tenant will still have rights and protections in place, landlords shouldn't allow a tenant to live at their property if there is no written agreement in place, as this will leave them exposed to great risk. Can a landlord evict you without a court order? To evict the tenant without going to court, you must give reasonable notice, either verbally or in writing. This is usually the regular period of rent payments. For example, if they pay rent monthly, the notice can be a month. The 27th of September 2021. How long does it take to evict a tenant in Florida? On average, an eviction process takes about 15 days if there are no valid defenses to the eviction action. An eviction occurs when a tenant has breached the terms of the tenancy in some material way, or has refused to move out once the rental agreement has expired. How much notice does a landlord have to give a tenant to move out in Florida? The landlord must serve the tenant a written notice allowing 3 days, excluding weekends and legal holidays, for the payment of the rent or vacating of the premises. If the tenant does not pay the rent or vacate, the landlord may begin legal action to evict. What are your rights as a tenant without a lease in California? In the absence of a lease or rental contract, California law treats someone renting as a periodic tenant. That means that the tenant pays rent at the beginning of a month for the right to occupy the premises for that month. If the landlord wishes the tenant to move out, she must give the tenant appropriate notice. What rights do I have if I have no tenancy agreement? A tenant without a written contract is still entitled to all the statutory rights a regular tenant with a contract is, including water, heating, a safe environment, etc. In a similar vein, the tenant is still obligated to pay rent on time and take reasonable care of the property. How do I vacate a tenant who is not paying rent? If the tenant intentionally fails to pay the rent amount stated in the rental agreement for more than 15 days after the due date, you can file the eviction suit. If the tenant has sublet an already rented house, flat property to another person without your consent or acknowledgement. How much notice does a landlord have to give a tenant to move out in Oregon? Termination of the lease. The tenant must give the landlord notice of their intention to move out within 90 days of the event causing the need to move. The notice must be given to the landlord at least 14 days before the tenant intends to move out. How do I evict someone in Maryland? What is the legal eviction process in Maryland? Provide the tenant a notice of termination. File a complaint in district court. Summons is issued by the court. Attend the court hearing. Removal through a warrant of restitution. How do you evict someone in NC? How to evict someone in NC. Decide why the tenant needs to be evicted. Send notice to the tenant. Wait for the notice period to pass. File for eviction. Go to the court hearing. Give writ of possession to local law enforcement. Get your property back.
Take our lead. Let's help you make your mark.